Checking people's knowledge on Philippine literature. I have asked people about what are the significant changes they have seen or known in their Philippine literature in terms of the style of expression, culture and tradition, and the system of writing. And here are their answers.
In the past century, the significant changes I have seen in our Philippine literature in terms of style of expression, culture and tradition, and lastly, the system of writing. Style of expression has changed in this generation. The example situation: courting to their loved ones before. Men should make harana first for formally introduce themselves. This was a traditional form of courtship in the Philippines. The earliest writing in the Philippines literature were written in the bamboo, leaves, stones, and other indigenous material. Since we are in 21st century era of technology, many inventions that we inherit and pass to the next generation. The changing times and cultural influences brought by the foreign and local people. As we can see today, computers, gadgets, and other technology, many people develop new ideas and spread to us, and that makes our environmental change.
The significant changes that I have seen in Philippine literature in terms of expressing ideas is that Filipinos are more vocal in voicing out different communication style. They tend to express their opinions and ideas diplomatically and with humility. And it varies widely in their region, dialect, and their language. And in today's generation, Filipinos are more likely to be aware and be sensitive to everyone because they believe that everyone has a story, and the youth nowadays has a lot of say, even if it is in political, academically, and anything. The culture and tradition of Filipino or Philippines varied influences from past colonization, and as I observed, our culture today is positively changing and has a great impact in our society. Despite of foreign influences, the Philippine culture has been retained and clearly seen in our way of life. For example, in our past era, there are a lot of tribes and indigenous people, and as you can see nowadays, those tribes and indigenous people are more exposed in media, and they are gaining more recognition and appreciation from co-Filipinos, and they are treating them respectfully. It is clearly evident that the culture and tradition of Filipinos are well preserved. I am overwhelmed that the Philippine writing system is like a cycle. They are reviving, and those scripts are existing nowadays in modern era. It is believed that there were 16 types of writing before, and today our system of writing is evolving and improving given that the technologies has a great contribution on it. For example, by buying one of the writing systems that were used before and reviving today. If you all know, Google Keyboard added by buying as their featured language. Also, the well-known script that remain in use today belong to indigenous people of Mindoro, Mangyan, which call their writing system Surat Mangyan.
Hello, I'm Delbert from City. So regarding the question about what I think are the significant changes of Philippine literature for the past centuries are in the terms of the following. First, style of expression. Second, culture and tradition. And third, system of writing. So first, style of expression. The significant changes that I noticed in our Philippine literature in terms of style of expression are from being an assertive person who can communicate in a way that clearly states opinions and feelings, and firmly advocates rights and needs without violating the rights of others. Most of our authors dramatically turn into passive due to deep traits, blackmails, and other traits. Second, culture and tradition. Philippine literature has seen significant changes in terms of culture and tradition in recent years. Some colonial and post-colonial nationalist traditions have evolved from pre-colonial native traditions, pre-colonial Islamic traditions, colonial Hispanic traditions, and colonial American traditions. It is either because nationalism is the most essential factor in the development of national consciousness and identity, or because there has never been a successful battle for independence without it throughout history. Lastly, system of writing. In the Philippines, a pre-Hispanic writing system called Baybayin was utilized for personal communication rather than preserving literature or history. Missionaries had to begin explaining or presenting the many languages that let them survive. And scholars had previously studied manuscripts, which I feel that the Philippines had far too many writing systems previous to our invasion. That's all. Thank you.
Of culture and tradition, the significant change I've seen in our Philippine literature is that as the day passes by, as this generation grows, they keep on discovering new things, creating, inventing new things. And also, when you say creating or inventing, it has a technological change and also has a broad impact in culture. And also in terms of economy, the economic system and also the conditions are affected. And the process of exchange that occurs between the nations here in our culture in Philippines is changing because it keeps on growing. You keep on discovering things. You keep on creating something that is very useful in the future.
And now it's my time to answer the question. What are the significant changes that I have seen or known in the Philippine literature in terms of the style of expression, culture and tradition, and the system of writing? The significant changes I have observed in Philippine literature in terms of style of expression are that each period has a different method of expressing themselves, depending on how they live within a specific time frame. I can say that throughout the pre-colonial period, Filipinos were highly vocal in expressing their feelings. I believe that they use a literary style in nearly everything they do. Harana is one way they do to persuade their loved ones. They also have songs for drinking sessions, putting their kids to sleep, religious events, and even for memorials. They instill morality in their children through stories, proverbs, sayings, and other means. During the Spanish colonialism, Philippine literature was primarily ethical and humorous. They utilized comedy to tease, expose, and condemn the people, particularly the colonizers, for their abuses, corruptions, and vices. During the Spanish period, there was also a nationalistic literary works, such as the works of Rizal and Bonifacio. These literary masterpieces helped pave the road for freedom. During the American occupation, people openly expressed their feelings through essays and poetries about love and life. However, the majority of these compositions were written in English, and the medium of teaching was also English, as ordered by the President William McKinley. Shortly afterwards, the Japanese conquered the Philippines and banned the usage of the English language. The prevailing attitude and tone during this time are contrasted with the tragedies faced by the Filipinos throughout those periods. During this period, writers expressed themselves via our own language. Then, under the Republic, just as we believe we had completely escaped the atrocities we witnessed, the martial law was imposed. To avoid being murdered, the authors in this time wrote on minor subjects. Our current Constitution's Article 3, Section 4 has been violated during the administration. Filipinos were once free to write and express themselves following the fall of the dictatorship as a result of the People Power Revolution. And today, in the modern period, Philippine literature may be found in variety of forms, such as the digital fiction, graphic novels, blogs, ebooks, and others. Topics are now wider and do not focus on just nature, and the people are more outspoken in political and social opinions. When it comes to culture and tradition, I must say that our culture and tradition is still alive and well today. That is because they have been preserved through our Philippine literature. The only difference is that our culture today is associated with various influences as a result of being colonized and as a result of the easy access to information provided by the internet. Nowadays, the English language and the Filipino language are used in writing our literary works. The Western culture, the Korean culture, and other cultures also had an impact on our culture. Some of our traditions, like the harana, are less commonly practiced these days. The buntongs and other literary forms that have become part of our culture are primarily taught in school and are not practiced in the occasions on which they are intended to be utilized. While there has been a major shift in the system of writing, this has occurred as a result of the different races who colonized our country. Prior to that, we had the baybayin, which was our own system of writing that existed throughout the pre-colonial era. At that period, literature was oral in nature, but there are fewer than accounts of literary works in bamboos, palm leaves, stones, and caves that were known to exist. During the Spanish colonial period, this method of writing was eradicated and was replaced with the alibata system of writing. It was also said that the authors wrote their works in a variety of ways, including with quills and papers, typewriters, and other mediums and methods. The use of baybayin was later on revived in the 19th and early 20th century, and since then, it has developed into various scripts, including the Tagbano script of Palawan and the Hanuo and Buhid scripts of Mindoro. And today, in their present generation, the modern Filipino alphabet is being used in writing. We are able to write not just in papers but also digitally because of the constant evolution of the technology, which which allows us to be more artistic, in our literary works.